Hi everyone, and welcome to our final English lesson of the week and the third of our grammar lessons. Our learning objective is using noun which you where sentences, so it's adding relative clauses. So the purpose, well, our English at this half term requires us to write an explanation text. Whilst noun which you where sentences are not on the Year 4 sentence types, in Year 4 we still need to be able to include basic subordination. These are perfect for it. These sentences allow us to add additional details, extra information to our sentences. They're called embedded or subordinate clauses. So the structure, the sentence always begins with a noun, so a name of something, an object. It's followed by a comma. Next is the embedded clause, the part that can be taken out of the main sentence will still make sense. It's followed by a second comma, and then finally the final part of the main clause, which adds a detail. So it's noun, comma, embedded clause, comma, final part of the main clause. So this is an example of a noun which, who, where sentence. They begin with a noun followed by a comma, which, who, or where. So cakes, comma, which taste fantastic, comma, are not so good for your health. Now the bit in blue is the main clause. Cakes are not so good for your health. That is a main clause and makes sense on its own. Which tastes fantastic, that is the embedded clause. The one underneath. Mr. Timms, comma, who is my favourite teacher, comma, is leaving the school soon. The bit in blue again is the main clause. Mr. Timms is leaving the school soon. That makes sense on its own. Who is my favourite teacher is the embedded or subordinate clause. It does not make sense on its own. So, which, who, or where? Well, Anubis, who had the head of a jackal, gathered the souls of the dead. So that is a person. Okay, so it's who. So if the noun is a person, then it's followed by who. The scales of justice, comma, which Anubis used to weigh the heart, comma, were balanced with Mart, the feather of truth. If it's an object, it's followed by which. The afterlife, comma, where Anubis leads the dead, comma, is the path to immortality. Place is where. Okay, so that's when who. If the noun is a person, it's who. If it's an object, it's which. If it's a place, it's where. So, an example here. Anubis, comma, who was a god of embalming and mummification, comma, collected souls. As you can see here, the main clause is in black, so the thing that makes sense on its own is Anubis collected souls. The embedded clause, or the relative clause, is who was the god of embalming and mummification. That gives you extra information, extra details about Anubis. You'll notice that there's a comma after the name, and there's a comma at the end of the embedded clause. Can you identify the main clause and the embedded clause in this? So the dead, who awaited Anubis to guide them, waited in their sarcophagus. Pause now and identify the main clause and the embedded clause. That's right. The dead waited in their sarcophagus is the main clause. The embedded clause, the additional information is who awaited Anubis to guide them. That's the additional extra information. There we go. So your task today is to use a sheet to write a series of noun which who where sentences about the Egyptian god of embalming and mummification, Anubis. Again, refer back to Wednesday's lesson on fronted adverbials if you want a bit more information about Anubis, because the video is embedded in there that tells you a bit more about his backstory. Good luck. I enjoy reading what you have produced. Bye-bye.